Welcome to SWO, Strange World Observer, with your host, John.
Hey, strange out there, this is John, and welcome to the Strange World Observer, where we are on the pursuit of truth. So today I wanted to post something. I wasn't going to do anything about the election until it was all said and done so we could look at it and piece it apart and everything like that. But something came up, and I thought that I was going to have to do a little bit of conversation around this issue, mainly because of a reporter that put something out there, and I thought we needed to at least discuss it. So this was a thing with Anderson Cooper, where he was talking about what was going on.
I've never seen really, other than, well, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this from a president of the United States. And I think, as Jake said, it's sad and it is truly pathetic. And of course it is dangerous, and of course it will go to courts. But you'll notice the president did not have any evidence presented at all. Nothing. No real, actual evidence of any kind of fraud. He talked about people putting up papers in windows. He talked about things that he'd seen on the internet. That is the president of the United States. That is the most powerful person in the world. And we see him like an obese turtle on his back, flailing in the hot sun, realizing his time is over.
Okay, so my question is there any actual journalist anymore? And the reason I say that is because when you go to the page about Anderson Cooper, it does say he is an American television journalist. He is primary anchor for CNN's news broadcast, of course, talking about Anderson Cooper. Journalist looks at facts. They consider facts. They look at the preponderance of evidence and present it to you without an outcome. And that's the big thing that we need to look at. They tell you the who, what, when, where, but you decide the why. At least that's what a journalist should be. I can think back to my day as a younger man with three stations that you had: ABC, CBS, and NBC. There was no cable networks. There wasn't anything like that. And we had, Walter Cronkite. We had Ted Koppel, guys like that who you didn't really know their political leanings until after they retired. Now, they may have still slanted news by presenting certain pieces of news to you, but you weren't exactly aware of where they stood anyway. And there's no question where Anderson Cooper stands. It actually, even in his Wikipedia page, talks about how he used to work as an intern for the CIA, and there's all kinds of conspiracy theory about the news media and the CIA and things like that, but we won't get into that now. But the thing that I have to look at is that CBS actually has an article up talking about how they're keeping the ballot watchers 30 feet away outside of a glass door, where what are they doing? They are putting up, if you look right here, they are putting up cardboard over the windows so people cannot watch. Poll watchers cannot watch. And this was in Philadelphia. So when Trump comes out and he says, stop the vote or continue the vote, because he said both. He's talking about Philadelphia. He's talking about Michigan. He's talking about Wisconsin, where things are a little hinky. It's not to say that it's fraudulent. It's not to say that it can't possibly be accurate, but it is to say that we want to check up and make sure we have the right vote. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with somebody saying, no, we're going to stop the process, make sure we have the right number of observers, the right people looking at this to make sure every legal vote counts. And I don't think anybody should have an issue with legal voting. That's it. All my life, November, or the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, has been the election day. Not 3 days after it, not 9 days after it. And you have different states that are accepting ballots up to 9 days after the election. That's never happened before in the history of our elections that I'm aware of. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying not that I'm aware of. So I think the president has the right to say, let's check up a little bit and see if this is something that's actually legit. If Biden wins in a legit race, Biden wins. There's no thing to say about it. I'm the way I see it. Presidents come, presidents go. Trump did a lot of stuff that Obama did. Biden did. Biden will probably undo a lot of stuff that Trump did. Obama undid a lot of stuff that Bush did. Bush undid a lot of stuff that Clinton did. Guess what? It's the way that we handle things, and that's why we really don't get a lot of places in politics, because a lot of the times it's just people undoing everything that happened before them. Very seldom do we have something that sticks. So, so there are a couple of things I thought that I would say why Trump would be concerned about voter turnout, about the votes that are coming in, things of that nature. So, when you look at the preponderance of evidence right now, you have a news media that is acting as an arm of the Democratic Party. And there needs to be an FCC filing with this, Federal Election Commission. There needs to be a complaint lodged that these are in-kind donations, if nothing less, at the very least, because you have such a negative response to Trump that has been conditioned into the people for the last 5 years. And I say 5 years because you got 4 years with the election, plus that run up to it, and he still overcame all the negative in that. When you look at 150 times the negative coverage on Biden, 95% of the coverage of Trump is negative. More than likely, that 5% that's positive is OAN News, which really and truly is one of the most medium or moderate groups out there. They pretty much they're running down the middle. They don't tell you the why. Now, their commentators might do. Anderson Cooper, at best, is a commentator, not a journalist. He may have started out that way, but he is not that way now. And then you can look at, I did a couple of different things. So percent of negative news for Biden is down here in this bottom corner, and these are the articles that come up. Evening newscast are negative about Trump 90%, 92% of the time. Study, liberal media blast Trump with 92% negative. Poll, most voters think social media will censor bad Biden information. Study shows media report 150 times more negative news than for Biden. Bad news for Trump. Karens are voting for Biden. That's all in that section. Then I also decided to say, look up negative for Obama. And what's interesting is Obama had 740% more positive media coverage than Trump. And Biden wasn't, Obama was not a very popular candidate. He was elected twice, yes, but the people on the quote unquote right were not very big fans of him. And before anybody goes there, it was about policy. It had nothing to do with the fact that he was not white. And so you kind of run into that, and it's something that when you run up against something like this, you want to make sure that you are getting the most accurate count possible. Now, let me also say that a large majority of the 95% negative coverage probably is Trump instigated. He does have a way to rub raw on people. He does have a way to let his mind be out there, and it is what it is. The one thing you can never assert with Trump is you don't know where he stands. Although, as mentioned in a previous show, they've tried. They have literally said that he will not denounce white supremacy, although he had done it multiple times from before he was ever a candidate to the time he was a candidate to the time he was a president. He had denounced, but it's just the media is an arm of the Democrat National Convention committee. And so I think we see that evidenced here. Another thing to look at is Trump, if he loses, will be one of the first presidents who will have a rating of 48% or greater who has lost a presidential election. In August, he was at 51% approval rating, and even Obama was only at 46. He was beating Obama. The unemployment rate, even in August, was lower than it was under Obama. But the news media tells you what, and that just proves that they're part of the left wing media, the Democratic National Committee. It proves that they have a bias in their thing, and that every single report they have done has been an in-kind contribution to the Biden camp. That's all it is. You see that's part of the problem here, is that the way they handle it, it's not news. News should be stricken from their name, because they are not news. They don't provide news at all. There has been a couple occasions, and I mean two that I can think of right off the top of my head. One from Jake Tapper and one from Wolf Blitzer, where Wolf Blitzer actually started asking questions about why the Democrats were upholding a bill that would give more money back to people during the pandemic, to Nancy Pelosi, and she accused him of doing Republican talking points. And then Jake Tapper actually went off on this idea that it's not that his position is not one of racism, but then later went again and kind of said it was. So you have a little bit of both on that, but there's moments where you start to see a little glimmer of news, and then it's just wiped completely away. So what is this saying to us? Well, why would Trump be interested in the possibility of fraud? Now, I will agree he shouldn't say there is fraud, and that it's the biggest fraud on the American people that's ever happened. Because is there a possibility of what I'm getting ready to show you to happen? Yes. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? No. So here's the question. When you look at this information regarding the Wisconsin and Michigan, when it's talking about where they shut off the votes, and all of a sudden you end up, particularly if you look up here at Wisconsin, there's no movement in the Trump camp at all. And it goes straight up above Trump. Straight up. A complete dump of Biden votes with no Trump. And that's just rare and almost unheard of. And then what you end up with Michigan pretty much does the same thing. They suspend counting, and there's a dump of Biden to bring him up closer to, and then eventually into the lead in Michigan. And you, as any candidate, if this was reversed and this happened for Trump, I would imagine Biden would do the same thing. No, wait a minute, this isn't right. This can't be right. And there's actually some tally saying that Wisconsin has had a 90 or 89 to 90% voter turnout. And with that being said, they do have same-day voter registration, but their largest areas were in the 60s and 70% of turnout. So the rest of the state had to turn out plus almost 100% or better to make that rate. And considering that their best overall, and historically speaking, I think may have been 70% as a turnout historically. America doesn't vote in those kind of clips. We have seen the highest number of votes in a presidential election, I know, in my lifetime, and probably when the vote tallies are done ever, as a percentage of population and registered voters or eligible voters. So you have to ask the question, what's really going to happen? What's really happening right now? The thing that you're seeing happen and unfold before us is President Trump is actually trying to stand up for the Constitution and make sure that a good vote happens. The media will not portray it that way, and sometimes his words may seem like it's not. But I will tell you this, that if you look at the coverage, dictator, Hitler, authoritarian, totalitarian, all that. It doesn't play out in reality. He hasn't taken anyone's rights. Unlike Obama, unlike FDR, he has not sent the IRS or the Justice Department after the news media. He's not done any of that. Obama actually targeted a reporter with the Justice Department that disagreed with him. Obama turned the IRS against Tea Party and other conservative movements for their non-taxable status. So Trump hasn't done any of that. Trump has not violated your civil rights in one way, shape, or form. That's the truth. Whether you like him or not, that's another thing. And I'm willing to say that the majority of votes are not for Biden. They're against Trump. And here's why I say that. The majority of people who check the mark for Joe Biden, are not people who are into socialism. But yet, Joe Biden's policies, per his own website, are socialism. They're not for Marxian or communism. But yet, Kamala Harris puts out an equality equity video that is straight out of the Marxian texts. I mean, most people, if really given the truth about both candidates, would vote for Donald Trump. The problem that people have is his personality. I can get that. He rubs people the wrong way. But I know one thing for Republicans, when George Bush was in office, he wouldn't fight back, and all the Republicans wanted him to do was fight back. Trump, he fights back, and Republicans are telling him to be quiet. There's no consistency on the Republican side, and I know that. But the truth of the matter is that presidents come, presidents go. The main thing that people are really frustrated with on the left was there was no blue wave. Why is that important? Because if there was a blue wave, if the Senate turns Democrat and the Republican and the House remains Democrat and the White House turns Democrat, then you're court packing, which they have admitted they'll do. Joe Biden just says, I'll tell you after the election. But Chuck Schumer, AOC, Nancy Pelosi, everybody else has said, yep, we're going to pack the courts if we can get a chance to. We're going to get rid of the filibuster so we don't have to worry about a 60-vote majority. With a Republican Senate, that doesn't happen. You cannot pack the courts. And to just let you know, filling a vacant seat is not packing the courts. Elections have consequences. I think that was a comment that Barack Obama said when he was president. It's true. So when Biden, if Biden wins and he starts putting up people, if somebody steps down from the Supreme Court, he's more than welcome to put in somebody who meets the litmus test of the Democratic Party. Disagree with that wholeheartedly because it should be somebody who upholds the Constitution, but that's the prerogative of the President of the United States to put forth somebody who he feels represents his constituencies. It makes the court very political, and that's what it was never supposed to be, but it's what they've done. Look at RGB. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG. Ruth Bader Ginsburg voted on social justice issues and could not back it up with the Constitution. And they would make leapfrog assertions to do so. But that's the way they wanted it. They wanted a jurist on the Supreme Court who would legislate from the Supreme Court, and they got one in her. They got one in Kagan. They got one in the election of the Supreme Court justices from Democrats over the last 30 years have been people who will legislate from the bench, which is not what the role of the Supreme Court is. Elections have its consequences. But if, again, and the reason why even at this moment the market is trending up is they believe the Senate will be Republican and the White House will be Democrat. Because when you have different parties in power, you can't have free reign to do whatever you want. There's going to have to be compromise. And so we see that. So that's what's going to happen. What's good about it all is exactly that. Is the idea that this is not the end of the United States. It may couch the conversation of how we talk about things. One thing that I think that is neat and that we found out that is good, the Republican Party actually trended up with blacks, with Hispanics, with Cubans and Venezuelans, Latinos. They trended down with white males. They trended down with that, and you can only attribute that to such as social justice warriors and beta males. That's the only thing you can attribute that to. But that being said, somebody who's an absolute out and out racist, it's not, and the vote reflected that, and so that was a good thing that they pulled away. Now, what happens next is kind of the big thing after that. Going back to what I was saying a minute ago, how do the Republicans, if Trump loses, Biden wins, they keep the Senate, they come closer in the House. What do you do at this point? Well, you start laying the ground game for 2022 on the House and the Senate. If you're a Democrat, you need to reassess your discussions. How do you couch your conversations to be able to get your thoughts and your opinions across in a way that's more palatable? And so I think if both sides sit down and really go over this election, that should be what happens. The Democrats are going to have to find a new way of communicating, and Republicans are going to have to find a way to continue to build upon what they did in 2020. So again, I wasn't gonna post anything about the election right now until a lot of it was said and done. Simply, Anderson Cooper, I couldn't do it. I had to because he is put forth as a journalist, and I want you to know how much of a lie that is. So I hope you liked the show today. If there's any comments, questions, or concerns that you have, you can always email us at the swoshow@gmail.com. That'll be in the description box below. As well, remember to hit that like button. If you like what you saw today, remember to share this on your social media sites and subscribe. Hit the little notification bell so you are notified anytime we put up new content on the SWO show. So for the Strange World Observer, I'm John. May the facts be ever in your favor.
Thank you for listening to the Strange World Observer podcast. If you like what you heard, hit the like button. Feel free to share the cast with others who are seeking a different voice. The podcast has been produced by yours truly. Music by Polyphonetic on Luberman.com. Again, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.